What's up guys, it's Brian from J&P Cycles. Today we want to talk to you about rear sets, what they do for you, why you need them, and how to install and properly adjust them. Now rear sets are going to offer you a lot more adjustability compared to your OEM foot peg. Whether you need to move the peg up, down, forward, or backwards, adjustable rear sets will allow you to do that. They also give you a greater level of grip and confidence and stability with your foot on the peg here. So whether you're an aggressive street rider or you're doing track days or racing, you're going to want and need rear sets to get you that firm grip going through your boot. Vortex makes a phenomenal rear set that's very adjustable and probably has the highest level of grip throughout their peg. They do offer replacement parts, and we're going to throw them on the ZX6 to show you how to install them, but more importantly how to adjust them to fit your needs. Let's first start off on the shifting side, and all we really need to remove our stock rear set is the two 6mm bolts and this 10mm bolt here. Now before we remove this in the shift linkage, we want to mark where this shifter is, because this is going to be important for when we reinstall it. We're going to reuse this part, but most of this other stuff we're going to set aside. So on the spline here, I'm going to take a little grease pen and just mark where this stock location is. The reason why we want to do that is because we want to make sure that we put it back in that stock location after we install our new rear sets. Let's get started and remove the rest. All right, head over to your table and remove the contents from the packages and lay them out. So be careful though, because there's a couple small items that we don't want to lose, including a little circlip, a spring, and bolt. The first step we need to do in all this is start to kind of assemble our shift linkage. Now we need to do this first because we're going to block up this, this bolt hole here. So install this bolt, put some blue Loctite on the back, and thread it in. The next step is let's put our toe shifter part, which is foldable, into place. Now you're going to need to put the spring in here, and then to hold it in place, there's this pin that will go down through, and this little snap ring here is going to hold it all together. With this part done, let's mount our foot peg through our shift linkage into our heel plate here. Start by Loctiting the bolt threaded from the foot peg, and then rethread this into your plate. Notice there's only one way for it to go, as there's these cut channels in here. Next, we want to take our supplied washer, put it on the back of our shift linkage, and place it up against our heel plate here. Now we're going to take this kind of fancy bolt, slide it all the way through, and thread it towards the back. Before we finish threading it, we make sure to put some more Loctite on it. All right, let's start by mounting this plate to the stock location here, and we're going to reuse these stock bolts, meaning we're going to have to re-Loctite those with red Loctite. All right, with our plate secure, now it's time for us to position and mount our rear set. Now, this is what I was talking about when there's a lot of adjustability. So you only have to line up the two holes here. So you have a lot of adjustability for up, down, forward, or back. If you're more of a track day or race guy, you're probably going to want it up and back to give you more ground clearance when leaned over. If you're looking for a little bit more comfortable ride while out in the street, or if you have longer legs, you're going to want to put it lower and maybe forward. For us, this is going to be a race bike. We're going to throw it up high and out of the way. Loctite the 2 Vortex bolts and then mount it to the plate. Once you're here, let's grab our stock linkage and the supplied Vortex adjusting rod here, and let's mount it. I'm going to show you there's 2 different ways to mount it, whether you want standard or reverse shift. Grab your stock shift linkage here and match it up to this line. Now there's 2 ways to mount this. If we put it in the stock location, how we had it before we took it off, it's going to keep your standard shift pattern being 1 down and 5 up. Now if we reverse this 180 degrees, that's going to give us that reverse or GP shift pattern, meaning 1 up and 5 down. We're just going to mount this in the stock location, as we're going to have many different people riding this and we don't want to cause any confusion. When you mount these, you kind of want to make sure that this is straight up and down. If it's angled in any way, it could cause some weird stress on it when you're shifting, and you might not have clean shifts because of it. When this lever makes its full pull or push, we want it to be a complete rotation and firm, so you want to make sure this is up and down no matter how you mount it. Now you'll have 3 shift linkage rods here. You'll have the stock OEM with the nuts on the ends here, and then you'll have the 2 supplied from Vortex. The reason why they do this is everyone's going to be a little different, so depending on the height of the lever, or if you're running a quick shifter or GP shifting, you may need a different length. So we're going to test this out. For us, we want to kind of keep that shift lever in a good neutral position. So from here, I'm going to want to see what rods measure up the best. And for that, it's going to be the long one. Now I'm going to take these old nuts off this stock shift rod and put them on the new Vortex supplied. All right, with the new nuts secured, now you're going to need to play with this. Now this is kind of unique in one side's reverse thread and one side's standard, and you'll see why. When we get these in the right position, we're just going to twist it to adjust, and you'll see the whole linkage move. So let's get one side threaded in first. Now this is going to be the reverse thread side, and this is going to be the standard. Now once you have this thread started, you can see how twisting this will adjust. So by bringing these closer, this is going to bring our linkage here higher or lower. And this we may need to play with, but for now we're going to leave it as this. We're going to go put on our riding boots and adjust before we tighten everything up. Make sure to throw your riding boot on and go through the gears to ensure that you have the lever in the right spot. For me, I'm going to want to move this down just a bit, so if I'm in a full tuck or if I'm really banging through the gears, the lever is going to be right where I want it. Once you have it adjusted, let's tighten up these lock nuts to ensure that this doesn't move around. For me, I'm extra paranoid as I've had these break or move on the track, so I'm actually going to run a little bead of tape around this. That way they don't move. All right, to get started on the brake side, first we're going to have to remove the master cylinder. Now there's a cotter pin that's bent behind here. We're going to need to unbend that, remove it, remove the heel plate here, which also holds on the master cylinder, and then remove these 2 6mm bolts which hold the rear set onto the frame. Once you remove all the components for your brake side, Let's repeat the process that we did on the left-hand shifting side. Mount our toe to the brake linkage. We're going to mount the linkage to the heel plate, and then we're going to go back and mount everything to the bike. Once we have the rear sets built, let's take them over to the bike and get them mounted. Now all we need to do is reinstall the master cylinder and brake switch. Now if you've gotten this far and read the instructions and found out, hey, my brake switch doesn't mate up with my rear set. Well, same here. Now there's two versions of this kit. There's a race kit and a street kit. The race kit is going to eliminate the need of this rear brake switch. If you end up getting that race kit, there is an adapter that you can get that'll hook up to the rear brake switch. There is a way to bypass that. It's kind of like a little cheater garage way, and we'll show you how to do that here with some safety wire. If you're not going to use the rear brake, the next step you can fast forward to is reinstalling the brake master cylinder to the back of this heel plate. And then we'll show you a little trick on how to mount that without the adapter. With your rear set secure and everything in place, your install's done. So if you're hitting the track, or if you're a racer and your race bike's done, you're ready to go. But if you're one of those guys that are looking to use a brake switch, we need to hook that up. As I mentioned before, now these are sold as, you can either get a street or kind of the track version, and we have the track version. Now, this is a simple and temporary fix to use the rear brake switch. Vortex does offer an adapter, so you can use the stock OEM brake switch as intended for any type of street use. But for now, I just want to show you how to kind of rig up the rear brake switch. So maybe if you order the wrong part or just need it temporarily, this will get you by until you can get the adapter. So what you really want to do is take that rear brake switch and thread a piece of safety wire through this little plunger here. Whenever this pulls down, that's when your brake light goes off. To kind of keep it clean looking, I wrap the safety wire in some heat shrink, and what I'm going to do is just mount this behind the heel guard here, and I'm going to run this wire down to the brake lever. Again, this is a temporary solution. I don't know if you want to trust this for the whole life of the bike, and you want to do it the right way and get the adapter. But again, if you're one of the track guys that are just looking to throw a rear brake on, this is a good trick to do it. After you have both sets secure and adjusted, your install is complete. So this whole thing really isn't too bad. You just need to make sure that you get them adjusted appropriate to make sure that both your shift and brake linkage is in a comfortable and usable position. When you get these kits, they usually come with extra shift linkage and sometimes even brake line, depending on where you mount your pegs. Sometimes if you put them high and back, you're going to need a longer linkage and maybe an extra brake hose for your rear brake, depending on where you put it. Luckily for us, we didn't need to do that. When you order your kit, also make sure you know which one you're getting. So like for us, we got the track kit. Now we showed you a quick little workaround to work that rear brake switch, but if you're using it for the street, like most of us will be, you want to make sure you get that adapter so it hooks up to that rear brake switch. When you head over to jpcycles.com, make sure to enter your bike type and ensure you get the proper fit and proper part for your bike. If you like this video, please share it with your friends and make sure to hit that subscribe. Thanks for watching.